and welcome to the Low Action Gamers Pyromancer Build Showcase. I'm Tem353, and today we'll be reviewing my Volcanic Dum Dum Assault Rifle build. So let's just dive in right into the meat and potatoes of the build. I don't know why I said meat and potatoes, don't judge me. Its main focus is the skill Volcanic rounds, while keeping your enemies ashed before your eyes. For my class perks, I went down the entire weapons tree, grabbing along the way the main perks such as Assault Master, Hot Situation, Ashes to Ashes, Leeching Force, Hurt Twice as Long, and finally Burning Situation. Now I'm going to go through my weapons and armor, but take what I show you with a grain of salt because your RNG may be different from my RNG. When looking for weapons, you want an assault class weapon with weapon life leech and or a mod where it's a high damage mod. So like Storm Whip would be a good alternative, or Claymore. Your pistol usually isn't a big deal because I practically never use the pistol. The armors definitely have less leeway than the weapons. You want to definitely try to get the mods that I have verbatim, and you want to have almost all your armors have cooldown reduction. Your primary and tertiary stats for the armors don't really matter too much, but you definitely want to try for bonus firepower and health. Now let's get into the how to play. You want to be pretty aggressive with the build. It's not like a slouching type of gameplay. You usually never want to find yourself in the crux of the fight, but you always want to try to stay a good distance, but close enough where you can deal most of your damage. You want to stay about, mid-range. This build does well against enemies that are higher level than you, but I am showing a tier 8 run just for consistency's sake. I am going to break away for a little bit to show that the build can take on enemies of a higher level in something like a tier 10. Of course, depending on your level, you want to stay about +1 to +3. Anything above that, you might be having a little bit of issues. Now I'm just going to let the video play out and just give you my thoughts and tribulations of the build as the video's playing in the background. The build is very heavy reliant on the skills, not so much for anomaly power, but for being off of cooldown. Because as you can see, the weapons don't deal enough damage unless I have Ash and or the Volcanic rounds on the weapon. But once everything is alright, it does take out people like they're butter. It blows through these captains and these ironclads like they're nothing. The issue with the Pyromancer is that it doesn't have a consistent heal. They have to be marked with burn, ash, or explosion or whatever in order to heal. So I tried to mitigate that through more armor and more weapon leech. But of course, you can only take that so far where it will start cutting into your weapon damage and so forth. And that's pretty much why you need so much cooldown reduction, because without your skills, you can't start healing through your base heal. Now you're probably wondering why I'm rolling around like the speed of sound. Well, that harkens back to my boots, where the mod is every time I roll I gain like 15,000 armor or so. And that 15,000 armor definitely helps in the long run. There are many a times where I'm almost dead, I roll, and I have just enough survivability to start healing myself back up. And speaking of armor, this also brings into my stacking mods, like Rejuvenation and Crit Stack. You're mostly always critting and you're always healing, so those ones always get to like max stats fairly quickly, and the little boost here and there always is a nice add-on. And then, of course, I have the Dum Dum bullets for assault rifles, which is where this build's name comes from. A nice 10% all around, really helps. But if you can't get the Dum Dum bullets, I did find that there is a burn mod that gives 20% damage increase towards people with burn, so that one could also possibly work. But then you have less consistency all around, and you have to make sure they're burning. Now, let's just jump straight to fighting against the boss. to show that yes, it does fairly well versus bosses as well. The biggest gripe is probably to pay attention to the ads, because if you're fighting the boss, the ads may be able to get you off your guard, so you gotta pick and choose your battle. So if the boss isn't doing much to you, try to go for the ads. If the ads are not doing much to you, try to go for the boss. It's not a heavy flip-flop build, so you want to make sure you stick with one target, but if something's giving you trouble, you can switch to the other target. So I was using the Voodoo Matchmaker for the entirety of this fight, but if I switched to my Imploder, the boss would have been down a lot quicker. And there you go, boss is gone. I do like the consistency and survivability of the build, it really helps the Pyromancer out. But you do have some flukes here and there, so like you gotta learn where enemies somewhat spawn, or you can't be overrun by melee people, or it really just staggers you out of using your skills. The biggest issue is probably running away. If you have to run away, you can't. You have to face your enemies head on. The high priority targets for this build will probably be like the marksmen, the spotters, those sniper type of people. Those ones will usually mess up your day because they're the ones that do the highest amount of damage and stagger you pretty well. But that's pretty much said for any class. And that's pretty much what I got. Thank you for stopping by, and if you reached this far, I'd like you to check out Outriders Part 1. Or any other video, your choice. Don't forget all that jazz underneath the video.